Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Midnight Texas. Quite a few things went down this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, we have the whole Kai situation. Well, obviously, we have Sally, Sequoia ends up dead, and it's like, oh, it looks like it's a suicide, but it's not. Someone invisible killed her. And obviously you have Manfred thinking it's Kai, but it turns out it's Lyric, because Sequoia was going to leave, even had her tongue cut out, because she knew about Kai's secret and she didn't want to be a part of this anymore. So Lyric, in an attempt to save her, or to protect Kai, ended up killing her, and she ends up dead because Manfred ended up stabbing her in the eye, which is pretty brutal. And in the long run, what was very interesting, and it seems like we're learning, because what she used to turn invisible, it wasn't a natural ability. She drunk something that looked like monster energy, I think is what Joe was the term he used to describe it. The same energy that Kai pulls out of supernaturals when he's taking their abilities. So, as we can see later on, Kai opens up that jukebox, and there's like a whole bunch of vials, and it's like, okay, so he's amassing, like, every supernatural powers he's ever taken from anyone, he's put him in these vials. And so, did Lyric get it herself? I would assume so, because I'm sure Kai wouldn't have supported her doing what she's doing, but obviously he didn't know about Sequoia's betrayal and her wanting to kind of leave everything. But it's like, okay, so I'm assuming, what I'm thinking is Lyric went and got it herself then. But that means he has one of two things in mind. One, he's planning on selling supernatural abilities to other people. Just that kind of could be his whole thing. Two, this is where my thought process is more on this now, is he said he wanted revenge. Could he be wanting revenge against the supernatural world? Is that what he's doing? Is he trying to collect as many supernatural abilities so he can amass his own army to fight against whoever, to have supernatural people to wipe out other supernatural people, or something? Like, he needs all those powers for something. I mean, you don't think he plans on taking all of them himself to gain this ultimate power, because this all has to go back to his ancestor. He wants revenge for something. So, I mean, the fact is, he picked Midnight out of any place. I mean, it looks like obviously he's been collecting supernatural stuff, abilities and such, way before now, but it has probably all been leading him to Midnight for a specific reason, too. It probably isn't just like, oh, there's a whole bunch of supernatural people here. It's probably something much deeper. Potentially, we'll kind of have to wait and see, but that's where my mindset is right now. I feel like if it really was just about selling stuff, wouldn't he? Because what would be so terrible that Sequoia wouldn't want to have anything part of if he was planning on killing people, I think. So that might be where that all falls into. Manfred keeps an eye on this situation, so it's actually kind of interesting, because there's a whole Patience and Manfred situation, them kind of sneaking away and just hardcore making out in the hotel, and it's like, what about Kai? It's like, oh, he's meditating or whatever, so he won't know, and it's just kind of sneaking away to kind of hook up with each other. Because for her, it's like her and Kai have been through so much together. They've been together so long that it's kind of like, when you're so entangled in someone's life, it's kind of easier just to stay put. I guess it's one of those things of yeah, we're obviously in a marriage where we don't love each other, but it's kind of like we've been together so long, so might as well just stick together. It'd be just more trouble to try and separate, I'm assuming. But maybe there's more to that than that. I mean, not necessarily on her side. It might be as clear cut and drawing on that side for her, but maybe things are a little bit different on Kai's side. I mean, luckily Kai doesn't know about the whole Manfred and Patient situation. I mean, to be fair, maybe he does, and he just kind of hasn't acted upon it, but kind of makes you feel like there might have been something more going on with the Sequoia and Lyric situation. Maybe not. I mean, obviously, I guess running into that situation, he's just going to jump to the conclusion that, oh, you killed Lyric, so I don't know. Maybe that was him just being like, whoa, look at this situation, or it's like, how dare you kill this woman that I'm secretly in love with, and something was happening between us. Maybe nothing was happening. Like I said, we don't know, so That's very interesting. I'm very interested to find out like more about that, like, you know, the details of his revenge and what it is exactly that he's planning, whether or not I'm right in that situation. And since we're kind of talking about that, we have Lim giving up his vampirism, which I had a feeling Lemuel would, but it just surprised me because it just like under these circumstances, because of his connection with Olivia, that psychic connection made it so he could see her dream because it got that much stronger. So Olivia, because of that whole Mary situation last episode, she's kind of got, I guess you could say, baby fever, and that dream, and as I figured as much, because I brought it up last time, but I figured as much because vampirism typically works like that in most fiction of like, yeah, once you're a vampire, you lose the ability to reproduce. So, I mean, at least in that regard of just having a kid naturally, so there's that whole situation. So I figured that was going to be the case, but it still kind of surprised me. I guess there is no reversing that too, which is really interesting. Because once again, if Lemuel became a vampire again, he'd be a regular vampire. He wouldn't be a leeching vampire. It would probably have to be I mean, I feel like there might be... Well, I don't know. Now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, Lemuel's supernatural side is in that vial, so it's not like it's completely gone. Like, if he drinks that vial again, which the fact is it exists, means that either him or someone else, we might see a situation where it calls for Olivia to drink it or something like that. We might see a twist like that. I don't know, but... it still exists, so until someone drinks it, like, it's okay. It does make you wonder, like, with the invisibility thing, it seemed like... What's also interesting, too, is, like, the ability wore off the moment she died, too. I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense in some regard, because it's like, if you transformed into something, of course, that effect would wear off the moment you die, but it's just kind of like... she could kind of control it in the sense of, like, oh, yeah, like, turn it on and off. So once you absorb the ability, you can fully control it like that. It does seem like the fact is that it was empty seems like, did she drink all of it but what was little that was left, or did she need to continuously drink from it? Like, if the abilities are not naturally yours, can you keep it forever, or will it eventually work its way out of your system? So that's why I'm wondering, like, if Lemuel got like a small drop of it, would that just mean he'd only get a fraction of his ability back, or does that mean, like, no matter how much of a small piece he drank, as long as he drinks some of it, he naturally gets all of his ability back? I'm curious, like, how that would really work. It might be a situation where it's like it won't come up, and those exact circumstances won't come up at all, so you don't have to really think about it. So I don't know, just kind of a thought process. But it is kind of crazy seeing Lemuel as a human, because everyone's like, what did you do, dude? And the fact of the matter is, he's enjoying. He's even like, I've been wanting a milkshake since the 50s, so Madonna, can you bring me one? So that was kind of interesting. I also love the fact is that Olivia found out about Madonna this episode. It's like, saw a check from her dad, and it's like, yo, you've been working with my dad. Also, Madonna, who her real name is Simone, pretty badass. Like, the moment she flipped Olivia, I was like, what the hell? Where did that come from? Apparently, she's got some training. She was training to be special forces. Even has like a prosthetic leg that's more metal than prosthetic. But still, she's almost got like some Full Metal Alchemist thing going on with her leg. So that was pretty dope. It's like, I guess you've kept that hidden the entire time. She held her own against Olivia, which I'm also interested about too, because it's like her dad was nearby. Has her dad always been nearby midnight, or was it only recently this season that he recently got close? Because it seems like that blood situation is what kind of set everything in motion. So maybe he's always been close, or maybe it's only recently. I don't know. But it is interesting because it's like, Madonna never started this whole situation with the plan to be as close to Olivia and loving this town as she did. She only was hired to do a job, but she stuck around because she cared about the place eventually while still doing her job. So, like, that blood thing was like the first time he asked her to do something other than surveillance. Lemuel and Olivia check it out, and guess what? Turns out he's using a spell from his memories to bring Olivia's mom back and a young Olivia, because in his mind it's his way of fixing the past, because he thinks like, oh, I'm gonna live in this one perfect moment, but that's all it is. It is a memory. It is a moment. It doesn't change what has happened. It doesn't change the fact is that Olivia's mom is gone. It does not change the fact is that you left Olivia alone and did all that all that happened to her was all your fault. You know, Olivia ends up falling under the spell, but thanks to Fiji and the others, which we'll kind of get to that, she was freed from it. But for her, it's like, because even before she was caught under despair, she was realizing, like, I can't stay here because this isn't real. You know, it's like, it doesn't erase what happened. Like, it's all just an illusion. And that's, you know, because it's him being like, oh, I'm going to get a second chance at it. Let me have a second chance. This is like, the fact of the matter is, you living in this fantasy isn't a real thing. It doesn't erase what has been done. That the fact is, her mom is gone. What happened to Olivia? She can never be that girl again, because that girl was taken away because you weren't there. It's like, yeah, you were dealing with your wife's death, but the fact of the matter is, Olivia's like, but you were supposed to be there for me, to tell me that everything was okay, but you left me alone. And for him, it's like, I can make things right, but it's like, no, you can't. It's too late. The fact of the matter is, she's held on to this anger and pain for so long, because those are the only things keeping her from feeling just as being consumed with the loneliness that her dad left her with. And now, I guess, to return the favor, she's doing that to her dad. It's like, I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to return the favor by leaving you all alone, like you did to me before. And now you're left with even out the illusion of mom and me. Like, you're always going to be alone. So whether or not there's more that comes from that or not, I mean, I'll be interested to see. I am curious whatever happened to the whole situation of her stepmom. I don't think she never brought up what happened with that. I'm sure Olivia's I think she talked about the fact is every single one, because I think it was Lemuel that was wondering of like, what could he do to those guys? But it's like, I think Olivia tracked every single one of them down and already killed them. I don't know if that includes her stepmom too, or if that's still a thing or not, but... So it's kind of interesting, because a lot of this stuff ends up being like one episode arcs in some regards, like, because like the Hightower situation in season 1, that was all resolved in one episode, but it was kind of like this overarching thing. Same thing with Olivia's situation. It's like this overarching thing, and it's kind of dealt with. Even the whole Madonna situation, which we see, well, Simone leaves, so whether she'll come back or not, that's a whole other thing. She even shut down the place because it's kind of, I don't know. I'm curious to see what ends up happening in that regard, because it's like, Olivia isn't going to be forgiving her anytime soon, because it's like, you did the one thing you shouldn't do. I mean, to be fair, all that was done before you met Olivia, but still, it's like you continued work. Probably if you had confessed to Olivia sooner and been like, hey, your dad sent me here, maybe that made things different. But the fact is, she had to find out on her own that you were continuing. Because, like, the fact is, it's not like, oh, you stopped working for her dad years ago. It's like, no, you still were working with her dad to this day. So, like I said, maybe there is some way that relationship could be repaired, but I kind of doubt it, so. But I am curious to see, you know, obviously, like, you know, you have... I thought it was kind of interesting, because obviously Olivia's pointing out, like, yeah, you might be human, Lim, but I'm still broken. But now, you know, because of this, like, letting all that pain and hate and anger go, she's able to kind of finally move forward. And so I'm curious to see what happens between her and Lim. Once again, this whole human thing probably won't last long, but it's definitely going to be a different twist of, like, yeah, Lim not being the vampire, you know, being the human and everything. So, like I said, we'll see, like, the continuation of that storyline. While there's also the Fiji thing. Fiji ends up learning about witches from another witch named Celeste. That apparently witches come from 2 different groups. There are witches, like, I guess there are, like, 2 great witches that every witch comes from. You either come from Delilah or Obelisk. And those from Delilah are good witches, and it turns out Fiji is from Obelisk, bad witches. And it's like, no, I'm a good witch. So maybe on some level it makes you wonder, is that what Kokonar knew about her? It's like, oh, you're a evil witch, and maybe that's why he wanted her even more. Maybe, you know, maybe that wasn't even a concern. Maybe it was just because she's a powerful witch, I want her. But it might also be because he knew he could corrupt her, because she was already on that path to being corrupted. Which also begs the question, because even Celeste was like, oh yeah, we're cursed. We're all cursed. Any from the Obelisk bloodline of witches are cursed. But it's like, why? Did Delilah's do that? Which is also interesting, because it's like there's a tug and war between good witches and bad witches. There was also something else I'm blanking on. Olivia made a reference to like some fairy tale in this episode that I don't remember what it was. Because I'm saying that now just because it makes me think of like the Wizard of Oz, because of good witches and bad witches and them not getting along and stuff like that. But it was like something Olivia brought up in this episode, and I'm blanking on it. That was kind of like a fairy tale reference. in particular, referring to herself almost like a fairy tale, but I don't know, I'm blanking on it now. I do apologize. But I just thought it was kind of interesting with also that comparison of like, oh, kind of a little bit of a Wizard of Oz situation going on there with good and bad witches. And we did see that, you know, to help out Olivia, we had Fiji delving deeper into the darkness, putting her arms into the fire, her eyes going black. It's like, yeah, that doesn't look good. It might be a situation where we kind of see a more bad side of Fiji going forward, because she has always been kind of like this sweet, she's got that sweet girl next door type of vibe, that sweet wholesome type of feel, but maybe we'll see her kind of turn into a bit of a bad girl going forward. I mean, for like, you know, Bobo, it's like, I don't want you to ever change, especially for me, but she's like, I won't. But it's like, you might not have a say in it. It's that situation of like, is destiny written in stone? Is everything, can you really fight your destiny? It's like, if you're meant to be, I mean, it seems like it's not so cut and dry of like, oh, if you're a bad witch, if you're, you know, a bad witch, you're bad. But it's like, no, it's just probably more so like, you don't care about the consequences, you do whatever you want to. So it's kind of interesting that was that her aunt or her grandma? Wasn't it Mildred? Wasn't her name? I'm like, as I'm blanking. It's funny, she didn't ever bring that up ever, but I guess it's like, oh, letting her know that she's a witch, that's enough. To let her know that she's a bad witch is probably too much. So it's like, because she probably didn't want Fiji to kind of go down that path. She wanted Fiji to kind of determine her own destiny. It's like letting her think she's a good witch is like letting her down the good path, because she didn't want Fiji to go down the path she did with dark magic, stuff like that. We saw the consequences to that, so, you know, Fiji might suffer that too. And like I said, we see Bobo kind of concerned, like, I hope that's not the case, that you don't go down that path. But we'll see what happens when Celeste and Fiji meet up with this whole situation. It's going to definitely be interesting too, because over the course of the series, this is our first time seeing Fiji really interact with a witch that's outside of her own family, which, you know, them being sisters, that technically counts, but still, I'm curious to see situation. So a lot of very interesting things went down this episode, and I'm so curious to see what the next episode has in store for us with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.